Hello and a very warm welcome to Rising Stars. I'm Vikram Oza. Now, as our world is brought to our smartphones, more and more business possibilities are on tap right there. Getting a doctor on call through an app, now that's a business we featured through several startups in the past. The one we're putting the focus on today is called Dr. Insta. It was founded in the year 2015. It has raised $3 million already in funding so far. And Amit Munjal, who's the founder and CEO, is joining us on Rising Stars. Welcome to the show, Amit. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me over, Vikram.
Amit, this is a nascent industry. When you look at video telemedicine, how do you think of getting into it?
You know, Vikram, it goes back to 2012. I was actually vacationing with some friends on a remote island of Hawaii.
Okay.
And I ended up having a sprain in my right foot. So being an island, doctors are not aplenty there. So a friend of mine recommended a similar service, and I used the service. Doctor did a video call with me, made me move my foot in different directions, and asked me about the magnitude of pain on a scale of 1 to 10. And after his, thorough consultation with me, he said, "This is not a fracture for sure.
Right.
I'm going to give you ibuprofen, which in India we know as brufen,
Yes.
and a pain alleviating spray."
Correct.
So I went to the nearest pharmacy, got it, and in 3 hours, I was back on my feet. So I said, wow, this is amazing, And
how much did you pay for it then?
I paid around $40 for it.
Okay.
So that translates into around 2,500 rupees. Now, I said, this is fabulous. Our country, India, needs a service like this because we have one of the worst doctor-to-patient ratio. Second, all of us waste 3 to 4 hours of time dealing with chaotic traffic, poor parking infrastructure, and then waiting in the waiting room of the doctor.
So is this a largely urban audience that you're trying to cater to? With the setting up of Dr. Insta, do you think that that's the market that you need to capitalize on, or at least have done so far, before you go into Tier 2 and Tier 3?
See, we are pan-India. But having said this, since the magnitude of digital literacy is more in urban India than in rural India, it would be like market skimming strategy for us. We would go with the bigger cities where time is a bigger constraint versus smaller cities, and then the villages.
Yeah.
We do have a Dr. Insta inclusion program for the villages there in India as well.
So you deal with the government?
No, not with the government. We deal with what we call VLEs, village level entrepreneurs.
Right.
These are the local Kiryana and Perchun guys who are enabling assisted e-commerce for people who are not digitally literate in the villages of India.
So you're developing that part of the market as well.
Correct.
But primarily, like you said, you need to kind of consolidate your urban business.
Yes.
So how have you gone about doing this so far? Because every city that you enter would require a certain scale of marketing, a certain level of awareness. This is something that is, like I started out by saying, still very nascent. So is that the largest drain? Because you started bootstrapping, you've raised $3 million, but I suspect that a large chunk of money would have gone towards just building awareness.
Indeed. I think the largest chunk has gone toward building awareness and then developing a product which is scalable and robust in nature. So we have two models. One is B2B2C, and the second one is B2C.
Right.
In B2B2C, we have a strong business development team which reaches out to the largest companies in India. And as they onboard, they bring like tens of thousands of their employees right off the bat.
Right.
So that leads to building awareness, because as these employees start talking about Dr. Insta to their larger circle of friends and family, more and more people embrace Dr. Insta in the B2C model too.
Right.
In B2C, we do other things as well. Like, for example, in NCR Delhi area, around 2,000 autos recently carried the canopy of Dr. Insta for 6 months time period.
Sure.
Building awareness for the product. We did radio campaign in some select cities of the country, building awareness for the B2C part of the business of Dr. Insta.
But what about the entire revenue model that you're building around it as well? Because you're catering to different markets, and India has so much variety when it comes to the various markets that you cater to.
Correct.
So how do you bring standardization? You did mention what you paid for the service before you started your own business in America.
Yes.
But then what is the comparison over here? What really works out for your business on an average ticket size? What's a patient spending?
A business patient, because the employer is paying a small per employee per month fee, So business patient gets the consultation free of cost because the employer is paying that fee to offer the service to the employees. Whereas in B2C segment, any user can come to Dr. Insta app, download the app and do the consultation by paying 400 odd rupees for each consult, or can also buy annual subscription of Dr. Insta, which would be valid for the whole year for themselves and their family members for around 2,500 rupees.
So those are the two kind of revenue streams that you've got going for yourself.
Correct.
But so far, what are the margins that you're working with, and what are the revenues that you've seen already with the user base that you've got?
Yeah, so our revenue would be in a few $1 million. I'm not allowed to share the revenue numbers yet. And around 107 large companies in India have already onboarded Dr. Insta. So we have around 1.2 million employees of these 107 odd companies which have Dr. Insta available at the tap of the app. We have 600,000 users in our B2C business in India.
Right.
So in totality, we have 1.8 million active users for Dr. Insta, which are absorbing the service, day in and day out.
Yeah, but I would imagine the critical mass, if you're trying to build that, would need to be much larger for this business to kind of grow at the pace that you'd expect it to, and for it to draw in the kind of investors that you would need right now to expand the business, as it were. But having said that, do explain to me the revenue model as it stands right now. How do you think you'll need to tweak it to kind of make sure that profitability is not too far away into the distant future?
See, at unit level, if you look at the unit level economics, every consultation is done at a profit. We don't incur losses at unit level. Clearly, as a company which is trying to grow, our marketing expenditure, which is below the line expense, is also very, very high. And it is expected to go up.
Sure.
Because developing a product is one thing, and then telling people about the product is another. It's like building Las Vegas, a city in the middle of nowhere in a desert. Unless you tell people to come there and that, hey, there is this amazing city called Vegas,
yes,
nobody would know.
Which is why my primary question about how much the drain is, because that's a given as far as creating awareness for a space that has been largely untapped.
Right.
But having said that, now that you're looking at another round of funding, what exactly are you aiming for? And is that going to go towards expanding the business? How are you looking at using the next tranche of money that you would like to bring in?
So we are trying to raise up to $7 million in the next go-around. We already have the backing of our current investors. We are also looking for some other strategic investors who can, walk the walk with us and help us expand these services. I would think 60% of the future fundraise would go toward pure marketing in India, so that more and more people learn about Dr. Insta, use Dr. Insta, and then be happy by using those services of Dr. Insta.
But talking about using of these services, largely unregulated, it's a pretty disorganized market to that extent, where it's not something that the government controls. But I'm sure as we go ahead, it will come under the entire consumption ambit. And if it does, that poses a risk to the business because we don't know how those policies are going to get framed. But yes, we are technology driven and smartphones are the order of the day. So it can't really go off the table. But do tell me where you see that risk placed before your business going ahead from here.
Not much. I don't see much regulatory headwinds coming for Dr. Insta, and here is why. At the end of the day, we are deploying doctors who have been trained and certified by Medical Council of India. So when they are doing the consultation with the patient, they are choosing the medium of Dr. Insta. If you go out and ask people that, hey, have you ever called your family friend who is a doctor, or have ever WhatsApped or SMSed your family friend who is a doctor, asking them what should you do in your current situation, and have them, write a prescription for you? Most of us would say, yes, we have. We have made that call to a family friend who is a doctor. We have sent a SMS or a WhatsApp to a family friend who is a doctor, asking them to opine on our situation.
Yes.
So, and then Government of India, on the other hand, is also having a fabulous program called Sehat, which is Social Endeavor for Health and Telemedicine. So government itself wants to democratize healthcare because India has one of the worst doctor-to-patient ratios.
Something that you started out by saying.
And unless we propagate virtual healthcare, Indians would keep on falling victims to quacks and the neem hakims, jeopardizing their own health.
Yeah.
And the most common case of self-medication that we see in India is is someone walking to a pharmacy store asking the person there, "Bhaiya kya lu?" Right? And
so in that market, building credibility is going to be the most important.
Yes.
The kind of doctors that you have on board. I understand that not all the doctors that you have on your business are on the payroll. There are some that are dividing their time.
Yes.
So how do you kind of balance that? Because the ultimate idea, I would imagine, is to build credibility.
Indeed. Very good question. So credibility is at the center of virtual healthcare. What we do is we cherry pick our doctors. We select them, screen them, and only the ones who are coming screened to us are the ones who are trained and then put on the platform. Once they are put on the platform, at the end of every consultation, a patient rates and reviews the doctors.
Right.
So imagine every single day we get thousands of ratings and reviews from the users about different doctors. So what happens now is if a certain cherry-picked doctor's rating drops below a certain threshold, then the doctor is decommissioned from the platform. So by very nature, the platform is self-improving with a successful survivorship bias, because if you are a great doctor, only then you would get good ratings and reviews. And if you are getting good ratings and reviews, only then you can continue to practice on Dr. Insta.
Of course, this is a nascent stage that the business finds itself in, and there'll be a lot more ground to cover. But indeed, if the business is good, competition is going to be biting at your heels, for which you'll have to stay ahead of the curve. We wish you great luck on that journey.
Thank you very much, Vikram. I appreciate you having me over.
Thanks, Amit. And with that, we'll wrap it up on this edition of Rising Stars, but a lot more coming up right after the break. To stay with us.